just shut your mouth. It's going to completely fare you so well because welcome back, astrology fam. Today's video is all about the Mercury retrograde that's happening from the zodiac energy of Capricorn back into Sagittarius. Lots to talk about with this video today. As a relational astrologer, of course, Mercury is important for us to pay attention to because in relationships, communication is one of our biggest obstacles. Mercury retrogrades allow us to reflect and go back and review and to have conversations that need some sort of conclusion or closure, and they need some sort of reflection. Along with the general overview of this Mercury retrograde, I'm going to help you understand some of his main lessons to us. All retrogrades are lesson learning opportunities where we reflect, reanalyze, reassess, redo, all the words with where we get an opportunity to go back to something in our life and do it over, course correct in some way. So I'll help you understand what that might be during this season. I'm also going to give you some fun facts, some things that you might want to know that are really unique to this specific Mercury retrograde. I'll definitely break down the date by date energies. That way you can understand as we move through the month of December, what might be in store for you and how does that reflect in your activities that you have on your calendar for the holidays. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to break it down by rising sign. That way you have a better idea of what you should be thinking, reassessing, reanalyzing at this time, depending on where Mercury is transiting in your specific birth chart. So with all that, if you don't know me, I'm Mandy Rose. Welcome to my channel. I'm a relational astrologer, which essentially means I help you understand the current cosmic weather in order to have better relationships. And I also do this through birth chart readings, helping you have a better relationship with yourself because you understand your unique energetic blueprint. And of course, if you like to do more compatibility readings, I can help you understand the cosmic energy of the people around you and how you can blend your energy with their energy. So we're going to dive in today to really break down this Mercury retrograde. And because I'm a relational astrologer, every time there's a Mercury retrograde, I know that we can expect the typical Mercury and retrograde activities. That is going to be things like miscommunication, upsets and disruption to travel, technology getting all wonky on us, having to go back over contracts, negotiations, agreements, reflecting on past, issues that we may have. Maybe there's some more information we have to learn. Remembering that Mercury as a life coach, I like to consider each planet a life coach. Mercury as a life coach to us is going to rule over our area of life that deals with communication. So this is learning and gathering information, but it's also about expressing and sharing information. And the way in which Mercury is going to do that, the lens or the energy or the vibe or the influence in which he is going to help us communicate or learn is going to be dependent on the zodiac energy that he's in. And so during Mercury retrogrades, we are going back to an area of our life, a place in the sky, a point in our timeline that we've already crossed over, that we've already experienced. And this is giving us an opportunity to reflect, to go back over that information, figure out maybe where we're missing some data points. Maybe we're reassessing an old conversation and we're seeing it from a new lens, a new perspective. Maybe you're going back over a contract, a negotiation, an agreement, something that you've had in relationship or partnership with another person and saying, hey, this doesn't work for me anymore, right? Because you're in a different timeline, you're a different era of your life. Because Mercury also rules over transportation, we want to be very careful, again, like I mentioned, with any travel plans that we have during this holiday season. It doesn't mean don't travel. It just means you want to be extra cautious, take your time, get there extra early, be really flexible, be really adaptable, print out your tickets, have hard copies of things, all of that stuff. Also, we're looking at technology, and I know a lot of people during the holidays are wanting to buy technology. Now, this can make sense because when Mercury goes retrograde, our technology can get all wonky. Printers can break, cameras can break, your cell phone might, just completely shut off. So that is very common during a Mercury retrograde. I just want to caution you with the other planets in the sky around the time of this Mercury retrograde, it may not be conducive to make large purchases, large splurges. But if you must do so, I will give you in the date by date breakdown a good time during the Mercury retrograde that you can kind of get away with some things that we typically don't during a Mercury retrograde. Now, let's talk a little bit about the lessons. What are some of the main lessons that we're supposed to learn? So one of the biggest things during this specific Mercury retrograde, as Mercury is retrograding from the zodiac energy of Capricorn back into Sagittarius, we have to truly understand what is Capricorn and what is Sagittarius energy. What is this influence that Mercury is under when he's in these two zodiac signs? So when Mercury is in Capricorn, where he is starting his retrograde, we are thinking with Earth energy, being on Earth, practical, realistic, goal-oriented, trying to get things done. Capricorn looks at the long-term vision of things. So in our mind, Mercury is in this area of the sky, and we'll get into when specifically that's happening in the date-by-date breakdown, but I want you to understand that this is when we're thinking about the future. We're thinking about our goals. We're trying to rationalize the decisions that we're making. We're being more serious. We're being more reflective. We're analyzing things. We're being strategic. We're saying, where do I want to go and how do I get there, right? This is a very earthly, tangible, realistic mindset. But when Mercury moves into Sagittarius as he retrogrades back into that energy, that's about going back to our ideals, our truth, what we value. We are basing our information, our mind, on our life experiences, on our own personal wisdom, and our philosophies on what we hold to be true and real for us. Now, when Mercury is in Sagittarius, we tend to be a little bit more optimistic. When he's in Capricorn, we're more realistic. So we get this kind of sense of everything's going to be okay. Let's just try it out. Let's see what happens. It's kind of that like energy of like fuck around and find out. Like he wants to find out by going to do the thing, getting his hands dirty, right? Putting your feet on the ground. And so Mercury in Sagittarius is kind of more expanding your mind by experiencing life. I always say, think of it this way. If Mercury is in Sagittarius, he knows that there's 3 pyramids in Egypt, not because he read it in a book, because he literally wandered through the desert and saw them with his own 2 eyes. And so this energy of Mercury being in Sagittarius, we already experienced this energy. This was what we called his pre-shadow. Something happened in our life where we tried something. We had some life experience. We were optimistic. We were spontaneous. We were brave. We were curious. We were trying to learn something from another perspective, from a higher perspective. We had a conversation with somebody, expanded our boundaries, got out of our comfort zone. Like this could be in relationships that are romantic or business or whatever. And then our mindset shifted and we got more serious. Then we were like, okay, I learned some things, I explored some things, I got curious, like expanded everything. And now I got to figure out how to implement that. Like, how do I move forward? Like, how does this affect my goals? How does this affect what I want and what I desire and what I'm realistically going to put energy to? And that's great and all, but then we kick off the Mercury retrograde and we're like, wait, hold on a second. Is that exactly what I want? If this manifests and if I build this and if I get to the top of the mountain, am I still really going to love this? Do I still find this valuable? Is this still my belief? Is this still my truth? And now we got to go back and get a little bit more information. So that's kind of the energy, the influence that we're going to be under as Mercury retrogrades from Capricorn back into Sagittarius. And also when we're looking at it elementally, it's like Mercury is going from earth back to fire, right? So it's like earth is like doing the thing, being realistic, putting your feet on the ground. But fire is like your inspiration. What lights you up? What are you passionate about? Capricorn's like, how? How am I going to climb to the top of the mountain? But Sagittarius is like, but why do I even want to start climbing that mountain, right? It's like that foundational level underneath all of it. Like, why do I want to do this? Is it going to bring me joy? Is it exciting? Does it get me out of my comfort zone? Does it fill me with passion? Does it ignite the fire within? Because only then do I understand that I want to climb the mountain? And then we get into Capricorn energy where it's like, well, how am I going to climb the mountain with the passion that I've burned from the inner parts of my soul? So we want to have hope and we want to have faith and we want to be optimistic and we want to see that life can be amazing, but we have to physically do something to make it amazing. So this is kind of that energy we're going to bounce back and forth through with Mercury's journey and the lessons he's going to teach us. So understand that the first plan you may have may not be the best one. You may have to go back and expand your mind a little bit more, learn something more, gain another perspective, and then, and only then when we get into January, can we put our mind in action. And one of the main lessons I think we're meant to learn with this retrograde is the fact that Mercury is in a square with Neptune, and that makes things so foggy, so hazy. And when it comes to communication and a relational astrologer, I know that most people are in constant communication with other people, right? Whether that is you are just sitting at home all alone listening to a podcast, that is still communication with another person. They're speaking to you. They're teaching you something. We're on social media and we're scrolling and we're listening and listening and listening to other people's opinions and their information and their perspective on life all day long. When you're at work, you're having conversations about tasks that need to be completed, like all day long, 24/7. If you are speaking or you are hearing noise in your ear, you are sharing information. You are sharing Mercury's message. So what we need to do during this retrograde with being a square into Neptune is tap out. get back into your own body. Neptune is living in la la land. It is Delulu central. It is rose-colored glasses, higher perspective, connection to the divine and source, not to the external 3D world. And so with things being foggy and people being delulu and information getting totally twisted, complete misunderstandings, you might be saying things you don't mean. Other people might be sharing information that ain't true at all. And so in order for us to find the message, to figure out how we want to move forward in the year ahead, we got to go within. We got to trust our own intuition. So that's going to be probably one of the biggest things. And also that Mercury is going to run into Mars. Mars is like action. He is the warrior. He is aggressive. And so there's going to be a point in the Mercury retrograde, again, I'll give you these dates in just a moment, where we might have some fighting words. We may be saying things that are just way too harsh, based not on real facts. Remember, Neptune is involved. So like we're yelling at someone for something they probably didn't even do. We are being aggressive when we absolutely don't need to be because the situation doesn't even exist. People might be saying things to us like thinking they're completely true, and it's all false because there's just major misunderstandings. So be very careful with your fighting words. I think one of the biggest things I can say with this Mercury retrograde, and like if I could just give you the best advice in one sentence for the entire month of December, it's literally shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. It's going to completely fare you so well because we're going to get caught up in this energy of not knowing what's right and wrong and what's true and what's not, and who's the person I'm supposed to listen, who am I supposed to trust, whose opinion is like valid. And none of that, no one's opinion is going to matter, not even your own. So this is about really going within at this time. It's going to just fare you so well in relationships, and be very, very careful with gossip. When Mercury goes retrograde, we tend to have little tech issues. And I can't even begin to tell you how many times someone has come to me as an astrologer during a Mercury retrograde and said, Mercury got me again. I was talking about so-and-so and I accidentally sent it to that person. Or, you know, a picture that you meant to send to your significant other accidentally gets sent to your mom. Like, don't gossip. Don't spread information that's not necessary. Don't have conversations about things that like don't truly matter because it ain't worth it this month. So no gossip, no unnecessary convos. Shut your mouth. Don't go there. Don't argue with people. If you're having arguments with your significant other and they're one of those like petty fights that you just keep having over and over again, put it to rest for this month. You can pick it up in January. The ahas, the downloads, the inspiration you may receive might help you just figure out what their perspective is, see it from a different lens, and allow you to move forward in a completely different way. So just be careful during this Mercury retrograde around all those things. So I'm going to give you some fun facts. Like, what makes this Mercury retrograde super unique? Well, the first thing is that Mercury is picking up his retrograde at 8 degrees of Capricorn. And this is where he ended his retrograde at the exact same point in the sky when he came out of retrograde at the beginning of 2023. If you go back to your 2023 astrology retrograde journal, you will see that Mercury ended his retrograde on January 18th of 2023 at 8 degrees of Capricorn. And then he got back on track and he's made it all the way around the sky now. In the year of 2023, he came back to 8 degrees of Capricorn, and this is where he's starting his retrograde for this specific season. So this is really unique because now we are revisiting something, a goal, a dream, a vision, you know, something that we wanted to set in motion at the beginning of 2023. And now we're going back to the drawing board and saying, hey, am I on track? Have I been disciplined? Am I still committed to this? Do I want to continue building this thing for next year? Or do I need to go back to Sagittarius, to my ideals, and figure out what's true for me? Maybe I need to zoom out a little bit and figure out if this is really what I want. So this is really, really exciting. And he's going to end his retrograde at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. And next year, he's actually going to start picking up his retrograde from 22 degrees of Sagittarius. So this is really unique to Mercury. He picks up where he's left off in the year ahead and making sure that he visits all areas of the sky within a zodiac year. Now, the second interesting thing about this Mercury retrograde season is the fact that Mercury is being influenced by so many planets during his 3-short-week journey in this retrograde. So he's going to be in conjunction with Mars, with the Sun. He'll be in a square to Neptune, in trines with Jupiter, and sextiles with Saturn. Like almost every single life coach is showing up in some capacity to influence and have an aspect with Mercury. And why is this important to us? Well, if Mercury is like our words and what we want to express and what we want to speak and what we want to share and what we want to learn and how we want to communicate, all the other planets influencing us is teaching us some major lessons. It's helping us be better communicators, to share our truth, to express our wisdom and our knowledge to the world, to help others learn. It allows us to even expand our own mind and formulate new ideas in larger ways. And I think this really attributes to the conscious collective really expanding their mind, where people thought, like in the medical community, it had to be this way. And now people are expanding their mind, Sagittarius, zooming out, seeing it from a higher perspective and saying, oh, the body functions as a whole system. And there's other ways that we can heal dis-ease, right? Or even in education, some people are saying, hey, I don't need to go to school and learn in this way. Maybe I just need to go and like implement my passions and see what happens. So it's just really interesting to see how the world is already dealing with this expansiveness of our mind and our collective consciousness. And during the specific Mercury retrograde, that's going to happen even more with all the other planets influencing Mercury's energy. And the last thing is that Mercury will be crossing the galactic center 3 times. What does this mean if you've never heard of the galactic center? It is the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And from our perspective here on Earth, that point in space is at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. And so anytime planets cross over 27 degrees of Sagittarius, they are crossing through the galactic center portal from our perspective here on Earth. And the galactic center is this energetic vortex, truly a vortex where all divine wisdom and knowledge exists, right? It's like this powerful energy. And so a planet, which is a life coach, which gives us messages and teaches us lessons, crossing over the galactic center, gives us information, divine information that we need to continue our journey here on Earth School. And Mercury, being our mind, is giving us intuitive downloads, trusting our intuition, having these aha moments, having these epiphanies, getting that beautiful inspiration to create that project you've wanted to do, the conversation you're needing to have, the wisdom to finish and fix a problem that you've been trying to work on. This is such an amazing energy. And because when Mercury retrogrades, he crosses over the same part of the sky 3 times, he's going to hit this galactic center point 3 times. He does it right at the end of November as he moves into Capricorn at the beginning of the month. He crosses back over this spot in the middle of December as he goes from Capricorn back into Sagittarius, and then he will do that a final time at the end of December. So pretty much from end of November to end of December, expect a lot of epiphanies, a lot of downloads. But the biggest thing that we have to remember during this retrograde is that Mercury is in a square with Neptune. So we're really foggy, we're really hazy, we don't know what's true. And so this is a good time to not go out into conversation with others, listen to others' opinions, but going within and trusting your intuition, meditating, journaling, allowing yourself to receive those divine moments of inspiration through prayer. If you're needing messages, however you receive divine cosmic energy in your mind is what we need to focus on this month. Okay, so for this part of the video, you may want to get your calendar out, look at the month ahead, and see if you have any activities on these specific days. This is going to help you with your communication and navigating those activities because of where Mercury is in his retrograde journey. So we're going to break down his journey. I'm going to tell it like a story. Let's get into the date-by-date breakdown. So I'm going to pull up this little chart here, and I know it might be hard to see, so you may have to zoom in, but let's go through his journey. Going back to November 26th, this was the date where Mercury started his pre-shadow journey, meaning he was at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, where he's going to come back to at the end of his retrograde energy. So I want you to think back to November 26th. What conversations were you having around that time? What kind of contracts, what kind of information was coming across your path? What were you teaching? What were you learning? You're coming back to this information. This is something you're going to cross back over, have that convo one more time, renegotiate one more time, get more data points for this exact situation. This was specifically around that full moon in Gemini. So what was being highlighted around that time? Was there an argument? Was there a disagreement? Was there something that like just didn't make sense to you? It'll make a lot more sense. Just give it some time. Then we move on to December 1st. This is when Mercury moved into the energy of Capricorn. So now our mind, like I said earlier in the video, went from being optimistic, expanding our mind, exploring, trying to find excitement, to now being serious, practical, realistic, like trying to figure out where are we going? What's the goal? What's the purpose? What do I want to do? We're really trying to now from December 1st until the Mercury retrograde begins on the 13th, trying to book those meetings, plan the year ahead, really trying to figure out like our goals. You might be really wanting to goal set, getting ahead of those New Year's resolutions. So this is being more serious and reflecting. Great time during this energy to like submit the paperwork, get stuff done. If you have end of the year things you need to accomplish, do it now, because once Mercury goes retrograde on the 13th, that is not the time for us to sign contracts, buy things, have conversations, negotiate your salary, like get all that stuff done at the beginning of the month, with Mercury being really serious and focused on the goals with his energy in Capricorn. Then we get to the 8th of December. Now, this is where Mercury trines Jupiter. Trines are harmonious. They are helpful. So Jupiter expands us, help us see things from a different perspective. He brings blessing and abundance and luck. So if there are answers that you're needing, if you have questions, if you need help solving a problem, if you need to gather data points from another person, if you need to have a challenging conversation with somebody, if you are reviewing a contract, this is a good time to do it now, to ask those questions, because Jupiter brings blessing and prosperity, helps move things forward. You can start to feel really adventurous around this time. You might be really getting deep into like philosophical conversations. Great time to share your viewpoint, to share your beliefs, to share your opinion. This helps us communicate just a little bit clearer. But Mercury is going to come back to this trine with Jupiter during his retrograde, and I will give you that date in just a moment. But that's the day during the Mercury retrograde that if you have to do any of those things that we shouldn't do during a Mercury retrograde, that you could get it in on that day, because Jupiter is always going to bring some blessing and some prosperity. So then we get to December 12th. December 12th is when we have that new moon in Sagittarius. That new moon is one of the darkest nights of the year. And this is a big, big deal because we are so close to the winter solstice, which is about going within, right? It's dark. So we're not going out. We're not exploring. We're staying in our tent, essentially, going within. And that's really one of the biggest goals with this Mercury retrograde, is that we're not supposed to have conversations with other people. We're not supposed to start gossip. We're not supposed to get involved with drama. We're not supposed to go out and purchase things. We're not supposed to go out and make things permanent yet. We're going within, and it's in a square with Neptune. Mercury square Neptune around this new moon, when it's really, really dark, is like a foggy, hazy night. Imagine you are in the wilderness, you climb out of your tent in the middle of the night, you're so hungry, you want to go scrounge for some food, but there's a fog, there's a haze all over the ground, and you can't see a darn thing because it's pitch dark and it's foggy. You don't know if there's a bear out there or what's going to get you. So what do? You stay put in your tent. That is how I want you to think with your mind and your words and your communication at this time. Now go watch my new moon in Sagittarius video. I'm going to break that down a little bit more of that energy and what we're beginning anew around that time. But literally that new moon is exact at 6:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And within about 8 hours, Mercury is going to go retrograde. So that's a really big deal, because then on the 13th of December, Mercury kicks off his retrograde. He's at 8 degrees of Capricorn. We've gathered some information. We set some goals. We thought of the new year ahead. We got serious. We figured out what we want to commit to. Like, we got all these ideas of where we're going. But now we got to go back to the drawing board. We got to go back to Sagittarius. So he's on his way back. So remember, how have you grown over the last year? We're looking back to January of 2023, where Mercury ended his retrograde at this exact same point in the sky. Reflect back to the year. Have you been responsible? Where have you been committed? Where do you need to put some more discipline in to reach those goals? And why aren't you as far as you would like to be? Okay, that's what's starting out at this Mercury retrograde at this time. Now, after December 13th, we're not going to do any of the Mercury retrograde things if we can help it. So don't sign contracts. Don't make big purchases. Be careful with your technology. Back things up. Be very careful with travel. Don't do unnecessary travel. Don't have unnecessary conversations. Don't gossip. All the Mercury retrograde things. Now, if you need some help with that, go into your 2023 astrology journal. You'll see under all the Mercury retrograde pages, they're 2-page spreads. I give you do's and don'ts, what you can expect, and so much more. So that will help you navigate that energy. Then we get to December 18th. So we are about 6 days into this Mercury retrograde at this point. And this is kind of the moment where Mercury goes back to that trine with Jupiter. So this is the point on the 18th. If you have to do any of those things I just mentioned that we shouldn't do, this is your little window, your little pocket where it might be a little smoother, because he's in a trine with Jupiter, and Jupiter brings some abundance. So if you have to sign anything, make a purchase, buy some plane tickets, whatever you got to do, maybe do it on that day. Then we get to December 22nd. This is the halfway point of the Mercury retrograde. This is the Sun-Mercury cazimi. This is where Mercury backs up into the sun. And this is really important because in mythology, Mercury, had his wings on his feet and he would fly around and share and communicate messages. And his father said, never fly too close to the sun or you may burn. And so when our mind, right, our communication gets close to the sun and it's hot and it's volatile, we may say things we don't mean. There's a lot of heat in what we say. But what the beautiful energy that comes to us during a Mercury retrograde halfway point cazimi with the sun is that this is where we get the ahas. This is where we have the problem, the conversation, the issue. We're lacking information, we're lacking clarity. And this is where you might have the epiphany, the aha. You might have some hope now of like, oh, okay, there's information out there. Maybe we can have this conversation again in a different way. You get some hope, you have some faith, you get some optimism back, and you might get the aha download if you've been meditating, if you've been going within, if you've been journaling, if you've been connecting to your higher self, all the things you should have been doing during this season with Mercury square Neptune, right? Then you might get this epiphany and download. Resolution seems possible. You might be getting some clarity. Absolutely great energy that's going to help you prepare for how you want to take action when we get to 2024. Also, where this specific Sun Mercury cazimi is happening is at 0 degrees of Capricorn, literally 0 degrees. So it's like the sun is moving from Sagittarius into Capricorn, and Mercury is retrograding and backing up from Capricorn into Sagittarius. So where they meet up in the sky is at 0 degrees of Capricorn. Then the next day on the 23rd, Mercury goes officially into Sagittarius and the sun continues forward into Capricorn. So when we get to the 23rd, our mind is going back to what do I believe? What is my truth? What is my philosophy? How do I want to expand my mind? Do I need to go back to school? What else do I need to learn? Like we're going back to that explorative mind and like life experiences and like figuring out what's our passion. Like what do we want to take action on? What brings us excitement? And moving that into 2024. Then we get to December 24th, the day after. That's when Mercury crosses back over the galactic center. I mentioned that with the fun facts. The galactic center is our portal into intuition, divine guidance, just amazing cosmic energy that can be just really built into our timeline of like, maybe it's a message you need to share. Maybe it's information that helps you have better relationships. Like it's just this magical energy that can just be really, really powerful, potent. That's going to help give you the epiphanies that you need. Then on December 26th, Mercury retrograde officially squares Neptune. This is really where there might be a lot of misunderstandings. I want you to pay attention specifically to the 26th, 27th, 28th. We have a full moon in Cancer. This is the energy of family. It's a very emotional energy, very sensitive energy. You might be prone to crying and being really just in your feels. Full moons, it's about emotional intelligence when it's in Cancer. So can you regulate yourself? Can you not just blurt out how you're feeling and just spew it on people? Can you be calm in the chaos? And then we have this Mercury retrograde, which is really trying to teach this lesson. So that shut your mouth and don't start drama is going to be so important by the time we get to the 26th, because Mercury will be square Neptune. So misunderstandings, it's just foggy, it's just hazy. There's no clarity. There's no truth. And Mercury runs into Mars. So it's Mars square Neptune, Mercury square Neptune, Mercury and Mars conjunct in the sky, just a very powerful energy. So no productive convos around this time, lots of dishonesty, spreading misinformation, people just spitting facts that have no sense of reality to it. We are really struggling. This is where fighting words can happen. This is where people can be more aggressive than normal. In your relationships, just give people grace and patience. Just think back to this video and be like, all right, they're under the influence of the Mercury Mars conjunction, square Neptune. Like this isn't even part of my reality. Don't let it into your reality. Dreams at this time might be very, very powerful. Pay attention to your dreams. Neptune rules the spiritual world and our dream world. So you might be getting more answers, more epiphanies through your dreams and meditation than from anyone that you listen to. So don't even pay attention to TikTok. Don't listen to the news. Like you're not going to get anything that you want from the outside world. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. So there's a manifestation energy, a magical energy with this if you can go within, because it's not coming from the real world. December 28th is when that official day of Mars, Mercury conjoin. So just people are going to be brutally honest. Sagittarius is brutally honest. If you know Sagittarius, they're going to tell you exactly what they're thinking. So truth bombs, people being aggressive, people are going to have super big fuck it energy. So just be really careful. And that leads us to the end of the retrograde, actually. Just a couple days later, on January 1st, Mercury retrograde ends. So we're out of the holidays, we're in the new year, we have fresh new energy. Jupiter just came out of retrograde, so we want to expand. We want to, move forward, more blessings, more opportunities. Mercury going direct on the 1st of January at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. We've reprogrammed our mind. We've figured out what our truth is. We've had some epiphanies. We've expanded our consciousness, and we're ready to move forward. It's time to get going. And so just giving you a little preview into January, Mercury is going to leave Sagittarius 22 degrees till he gets back into Capricorn on the 14th of January. This is when our mind goes back into realistic, earth-grounded, serious, disciplined Capricorn energy. This is really where you can get going on your goals, where you can be strategic, where you can look at your calendar, where you can plan on things. So just give yourself some grace and patience. There might be some conversations you have to have the first couple days of the year. You might not exactly know how to get going on your goals now that you've reevaluated what you want them to be. So I would really say January 14th is kind of that green light of strategy planning and implementing the way in which you're going to accomplish your goals for 2024. And then remember, as he's moving forward from the 1st of January, he has to go back over all the transits that he had during his retrograde. So he's going to meet up with the galactic center again. He's going to square Neptune again. He's going to be in a trine to Jupiter again and a sextile to Saturn again, meeting up with Mars again, then eventually getting closer to the sun. So just a lot of energy until we get to January 21st. This is where he ends his retrograde shadow. So January 21st is a very big day in the cosmos. Mercury is completely out of retrograde energy. We are done with the lessons. We've had the conversations. We've had some epiphanies. We've communicated what we needed to say to people. We've signed contracts. We've negotiated things we want. We've reflected over all areas of our life. And now on January 21st, we're moving full steam ahead. The retrograde energy is over. Almost all the planets at this point are out of retrograde. So we are retrograde free, full steam ahead. And that is the exact same day that the sun and Pluto move into Aquarius together. And Aquarius is the future. It is the collective. It is humanity. So I'm looking forward to January 21st, where our mind is going to be clear. We're going to have vision. We're in our goal setting mind. And Sun and Pluto in Aquarius is like, what's next? What's the future? Let me manifest it. Let's go get it. So I know that this Mercury retrograde may bring some challenges in communication, misunderstandings, fighting words, gossip, all the things. I want you to just disconnect. I want you to just enjoy the holidays, go within, let people say what they want to say. Don't believe a single thing anyone says. They may say the most hurtful thing to you. Don't believe them. They don't even know what they're talking about. It may sound so serious and so true, but I want you to just let it go. Let it go within, dream a little, journal a little, meditate a little, get connected with your own inner voice, your own inner guidance, do some prayer, go to church, find the magic in everything, and you will navigate this Mercury retrograde with ease. So thank you for joining me in this video. Thank you for allowing me to be your guide through the cosmos. If you want to grab a copy of the 2024 Astrology Journal and you want a hard copy and you've ordered it after December 10th, I won't be able to ship them until after January 10th, after the holidays when another shipment comes in, but you can get the PDF version at any time. You can find it in the description box below. And if you're looking for a 2024 astro forecasting session to see how the year ahead is going to be impacting you, what areas of life you want to pay attention to, where Jupiter is going to bless you, what lessons you need to learn with Saturn, what new and full moons are really important to pay attention to for you, you can go ahead and book your astro forecast reading in the description box below. And I'm going to send you so much love and light as you get through the end of 2023. And I can't wait to create magic with you through these videos and in your chart readings in 2024. I'm going to wrap up this video by going through all 12 of the rising signs, giving you a perspective of where in your life this Mercury retrograde may be impacting you the most. Now, remember, you may want to go back to the December video that I did and listen to your rising sign there, because in that video, I focus more specifically on the Sagittarius area of your life. So for this video, I'm going to focus on the communication challenges you may be having as Mercury moves from Capricorn back into Sagittarius. So where do you need to be focusing your mind in what specific area of your life, depending on your rising sign? So we're going to start out with Aries. Aries, we have Mercury moving from your 10th house to your 9th house, from your career house to your higher conscious mind, your belief system, what you hold to be true in this lifetime. So you're going to have your mind on your career, what goals you have, determining what's next. And then you're going to look back and say, how does travel fit into this? Do I need to go back to school? What else do I need to learn? What wisdom do I need to gain? What is my philosophy and my belief system around my life? Do I even want to work a 9 to 5? Do I want to have this job? Like, is it true for me to have this job, or was this somebody else's dream? So you're going to have to learn some things about yourself, about your higher self before you move forward in your career in 2024. Taurus risings, this puts the Mercury retrograde from your ninth house back into your eighth house. So you're going to be reconsidering what you need to expand and grow. Where do you need to get out of your comfort zone? Where do you need to go out into the world and to see new things? But first, we got to go back to your eighth house. And this is your house of money, investments tied to another person. Is there some sort of financial thing that's holding you back? Is there a contract that you have with another person? Maybe it's a marriage contract and they have all the money and they're not letting you spend your money on going back to school and expanding your mind, or going on a vacation that you've been wanting to go on, or maybe you've wanted to go on a retreat, but you're in debt. So you got to go back and pay off that debt, or find a way to decrease the interest rate so that you can have this life of exploration and of expansion. So that's a lot of things that your mind might be on during this Mercury retrograde. Gemini risings, this puts Mercury retrograding from your eighth house back into your seventh house. Eighth house is the house of joint finances, money that's tied to another person. Also deals with your sex life and your intimacy and ability to go deep and be vulnerable with another person. So your mind might be on some of these taboo topics in your life, but we're going to have to retrograde back to your seventh house, your romantic, deeper, intimate connections with another. This could be marriage. This could be business. This could be people you are in partnership with. This could also be deep, intimate friendships. So reflecting and going back to the deepest relationships in your life and seeing and thinking and having conversations around them and asking yourself, what is true in these relationships? How do I idealize them? What kind of combos do I need to have to move forward so that I can go to these deeper, more vulnerable, intimate spaces as Mercury comes out of retrograde and moves back into Capricorn? If you don't figure out who you want in your life and who you want to be close to, how can you be vulnerable and intimate with them? So there's a lot of energy in your mind going on around these specific topics. Cancer risings, this puts Mercury's retrograde from your seventh house back into your sixth house. Seventh house is our deepest intimate connections with another. So this is marriage, business partners, people you collab with, deep intimate friendships. And you're thinking a lot about these areas. Maybe you're having a lot of conversation with the deepest people in your life, but this Mercury retrograde is going back into your sixth house. So this is your house of health and wellness, really reflecting back on your overall well-being. What relationships are good for your health, right? Are they in alignment with your lifestyle and the way you want to live your life? Do you have a partner or someone in your life that's unhealthy and it causes you to be more unhealthy and get out of your routines and not have habits and patterns that are optimal for you? So you're going back to your routines, looking at your health and seeing how they need to be adjusted or how they correspond to your relationships. Leo risings, this puts Mercury's retrograde from your sixth house back into your fifth house. Your sixth house is your health house. It is your house of overall well-being, your day-to-day life, your work-life balance. And Mercury's retrograding from this area of your life. So you're thinking a lot about 2024 and where you want your health to go. What do you want your routines to be like? How often do you want to work? Like all the things that deal with your wellness. But we're going to have to go back to your fifth house. And this is your house of fun, hobbies, passion projects, romantic life. What do you need to do in your life to have more fun? And that's going to impact your well-being. That's going to impact your health. So looking back at the relationships in your life and people that you can go have some fun with, go to a game with, go to a movie with, go on a date with, and reflecting back on how that is impacting your overall well-being and making some mental decisions and gaining some more information. So these are areas of life that you may be reflecting on during this Mercury retrograde. Virgo risings, this puts Mercury's retrograde from your fifth house back into your fourth house. Your fifth house is your house of fun. People that you spend time with, that you enjoy, that you go do hobbies with, that you go to movies with, that you go to concerts with, people you go on dates with. This is your romantic dating life. It also deals a lot with your children. So you might be having a lot of conversations with these people in your life about what your goals and future looks like for 2024. But we got to go back to your fourth house, which is home and family. Going back to your foundational area of life. What does your home life look like? Is it calm? Is it peaceful? What is true for you? Where do you want to live? Expanding your mind, asking questions. Maybe you're going to feng shui your house. Maybe there's something that you need to learn more about when it comes to your family unit or your actual living environment that is going to impact how you have more fun in your life. Maybe it's about saying, hey, like I want to have a dating life, so my kids need to leave the house. They need to get their own apartment. So these are the two areas of life that are being reflected upon during Mercury's retrograde journey for you. Libra risings, this puts Mercury's retrograde from your fourth house back into your third house. Fourth house is your house of home and family. So really looking at what does 2024 have in store for you and where are these long-term goals going to go with where you want to live? Do you want to move home or renovate your home? Who's going to be living in your home? What does your family life look like? But in order to find those answers, we got to go back to your third house. So this is having conversations. This is your communication sector. This is learning some things. This is sharing information. So you might have to go back to do some research, gather more data, ask questions. If you're wanting to move homes or buy a new home or build a new home, maybe you got to go and figure out some more information to see if that's even possible and in alignment with your goals. So these are kind of the areas of life. There's some tech stuff that you might need to reflect on. Maybe you need to write something or share or express or communicate something. Maybe it's creating a course or writing a book, and maybe it's on home or maybe it's around families. So this might be important for you. Scorpio risings, this Mercury retrograde is going to go from your third house back to your second house. So your third house is your house of the mind, communication, sharing information, helping people understand things. And we're going to go back to your second house. How is that impacting your budget? We're going to go back to our money sector, Scorpio rising. So our mind, Mercury is going to be on our money, looking at what is coming in, what is going out. Do I need to create a second stream of income? What are my truths? How often do I want to work? How much money do I want to have in my retirement account? Do I want to buy this car? Lots of mind on your money kind of stuff. And how is that impacting your communication? What are you sharing with the world? What are your creative projects? What do you desire and how do you want to express that and communicate that out into the world? Sagittarius risings, this puts Mercury's retrograde from your second house back to your first house. So your second house is your money house. And so right now you are thinking about the year ahead. What do I want? What are my goals? What are my budget? What do I want to invest in? What do I want to buy? But we got to go back to your first house. And your first house is your house of you. What are your true wants? What is your truth? What do you need? What do you desire? This isn't about everyone else, right? Your budget might be a lot for your family or your friends. You might be giving a lot of money away that isn't really truly what you want. So Sagittarius risings, you got to do some reflection, get back to you and your truth, and then figure out what your budget is for the year ahead. Capricorn risings, this puts Mercury's retrograde from your first house back to your 12th house. So this is all about you. You. We are going to be looking at your identity. What do you want to create? How do you want to express? How do you want to speak? How do you want to communicate? How do you want to show up on social media, right? Mercury is our mind and expressing ourselves verbally. But we have to go back to the 12th house, which is your mental health. This is that little itty bitty shitty committee telling you horrible things, limiting beliefs, negative thought patterns, subconscious things coming to the surface. And so you got to go back to the mind, your own inner turmoil, and shutting down that bad voice in your head so that your identity can shine. So you can show up and express yourself in your full authenticity as we move into 2024. And that's going to help you reach your goals. Aquarius risings, Mercury retrograde goes from your 12th house back to your 11th house. So you're going to be thinking a lot about what's going on behind the scenes. What are projects that you want to create? What's coming up for the year ahead? This deals a lot with your mental health. So maybe you're having a lot of mental anguish, mental thoughts. You're having to go deep into your subconscious. You're having to figure out your toxic patterns, how you're sabotaging yourself. Like there's a lot of mental stuff going on that we have to address. But then Mercury retrogrades back into your 11th house, which is dealing with your friendships. So you have to go back and really have conversations with friends and really reflecting and figuring out who do you want to be in your friendship circle. So there's information that you can gain. Maybe it's perspective, maybe it's wisdom, maybe people can help you see that like the way that you're thinking isn't real and it's not true for you. So have conversations with friends that might help you on the mental health level. Go ask questions, go connect with people that are, close to you, that get you. And Pisces risings, Mercury retrograde is moving from your 11th house back into your 10th house. So your mind is going to be a lot on conversation with friends. Maybe there's issues going on in your friendship circle. Maybe there's conversations or old friends that you haven't talked to in a while. So really connecting and communicating with acquaintances, people that are like-minded. And then we're going to have to go back though with this Mercury retrograde to your career sector. So maybe there's more information you need to learn about your career, your purpose. So what do you want? What is true for you? Do you want to continue on in this career? There's a lot of career stuff going on for you in the month of December, Pisces risings. But, going from your friends, and maybe there's friends that can help you with these things. So connect with people, connect in social groups, go to networking events, and some of them may lead you to more information of what you truly want in your career sector as you move into 2024.